Daniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000, but the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I got to have that Tiege pack. Tiege makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun. And a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing. My favorite part about Tiege Hanley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tiege Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a Dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Tiege Hanley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a Dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Tiege pack. Feel the Tiege, my friends. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in on this Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, year of our Lord. What's happening, friends? What's going on? We kicking it. We having a good conversation. We slow motion. I'm almost wanting to wear the rollie today. Let me switch it up. Anton want to wear the rollie on today. What's going on, friends? How y'all feel? Everything good? Thanksgiving coming up in a couple days. Y'all ready to go and blow y'all money on a bunch of retailers that don't care anything about you? Nah, let me stop messing with you. Let me say it one more time for the people in the back. Y'all ready to go and blow a bunch of y'all money in order to continue to do the same thing that y'all been doing all this time for a bunch of retailers that don't care anything about you? No, not yet. Almost. You gonna do it on Black Friday? I get you. I got you. Well, listen, let me get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. Thank you to Tiege Hanley, sponsoring the live stream, 30% off your first order plus a free gift. Link is in the description for you to be able to go ahead and get that Tiege pack. Thank you, Tiege Hanley, and thank you to everybody that continues to support by signing up and then getting that Tiege pack. And then in addition to that, I also want you to make sure that you subscribe to the Patreon. That link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I got a lot of stuff that's being edited. I actually hired a second editor, and we going through that. So I got a bunch of different interviews that's going up, including Patreon exclusives. And then also, I want to keep emphasizing this for those of you that are going to be in the Miami area during New Year's Eve. I had a beautiful time in Miami when I spent New Year's in Miami, and it is going to be 70, 80 degrees. Who knows? Last time I was there, it was like 80 degrees. And it was sunny and it was beautiful, and I didn't see any snow like I be seeing over here in Metro Detroit, and it wasn't cold like it is in Metro Detroit, and it didn't have salt on your car like it did in Metro Detroit, and it was absolutely awesome. So I am going to be back and forth through Miami during the New Year's, or all in December, and then specifically I'm going to be in New Year's taking care of business in Miami. And so I invite my bag chasers specifically, and I told y'all in the video that I dropped in the bag chasers that gave you the update that I do not want anybody sharing details. If you are a bag chaser, you can bring your plus one, have a good time, whatever. But I don't want anybody that is not a bag chaser or that is not a plus one of the bag chasers to be in this event. It is exclusive, and I do exclusive things. I travel to a different state practically every single month throughout the year in order to be able to interact with you guys. And so I don't believe that anybody should get that privilege outside of the people that rock with me the hardest. So you guys are invited. I appreciate you. I love you. I'm going to continue to rock out and drop all of this knowledge, information, and insight as I get it. I'm going to give it to you. And then more importantly, all of the exclusive uncensored interviews and videos that I put together, that is going to be for you guys. So again, I appreciate you. I love you. Let's go ahead and get started with the show, family. What's going on? What is happening to everybody up in here? Somebody said, who got laid off from Microsoft? Are we going to talk about it? We definitely going to talk about it. Thank you to everybody that rocked out. I did make sure that I switched up the live stream a little bit. And I didn't want to necessarily talk about current events as it relates to some of the most egregious stuff that was happening as far as Shanquella Robinson. I did a show about that yesterday. I already knew it was going to get censored, and it did get censored, and you got to be 18 and over and confirm in order to be able to watch the video, and it's kind of shadow banned and all of that. But I still needed to have that conversation. And plus, I wanted to test out some new setups that I had going on. Y'all see me walking back and forth to the background, and so that was awesome. And so I wanted to switch it up and do a little bit of a pivot today because I wanted to talk about something relevant as it relates to what I see a lot of people going through in the economy, and that we've been in a recession for an extended period of time. And if you don't know what a recession is, go ahead and look it up. But we've been in a recession for an extended period of time. And so I wanted to deep dive into a woman that detailed getting laid off from Microsoft. Now, I'm going to go into that. But before I go into that, I dropped a video today. With Lamar Odom. Well, it wasn't a video. It was a clip. Everybody that's a part of the Bag Chasers already got the full uncensored interview. But I dropped a clip on my other channel, and it was detailing what Lamar Odom's thoughts were about getting married, women. He spoke a little bit about Kyrie, and then we deep dive even further into that. He's going to talk about WNBA players, Brittany Griner, all of that stuff, right? But he spoke specifically about Ye, and I thought it was when he said it, and I was sitting here, and he was talking about Ye. He had nothing bad to say whatsoever. And matter of fact, let me share the video. Let me see if I can find it for you guys really quickly. Before we get into the show, let me see if I can find it for you guys. Give me 1 second here.
For the man that I know that who played that music to uplift my soul after I came out that coma,
Yeah.
I can't see him hating anyone.
Did you hear what he said? He said, for the man that I know, specifically talking about Kyrie and then Ye. He said, for the man that I know, I asked him, I said, listen, you closer to Ye than anybody that I've spoken to in this studio as far as interviewing you. You're closer to him in that you have a personal relationship with him. You got his phone number, so on and so forth. You closer to him than anybody that I know. I just had an aha moment. I literally just had an aha moment. I was thinking to myself, hold on, before I get into this, I was thinking to myself, I was like, I've been contemplating for weeks. How am I going to get in touch with Ye? Because it's very difficult to get in touch with certain people. I mean, the dude is practically Michael Jackson. I got a personal relationship with Lamar. Hey, you on a live, so don't say nothing crazy. You know how we've been trying to get in touch with Ye?
Yes.
We need to why aren't we using Lamar?
I forgot about that. Yes. Okay, I will reach out to him.
Okay.
All right.
Bye. Networking, ladies and gentlemen. It literally just popped into my head right here and there. That's crazy. I don't know why I didn't do, why wasn't I thinking that before? I could just give him a call. He literally has his phone number. You know, let me say something about this because I am going to deep dive into this whole thing that I wanted to talk about. Let me say something about this. Your network truly is your net worth. A lot of people always say to me, because I interview differently than everybody else, and it's not that I'm unwilling to ask the hard questions, but it's that I want them to feel comfortable enough to actually expressing themselves and then participate in the hard questions versus me. Well, I'm not going to give you my interview strategy. That's Patreon level game. Matter of fact, I might drop a video on Patreon about that today or something. But more importantly, people don't understand and they say, Anton, why didn't you drill down on this people? Or Anton, why are you still friends with Brittany Renner knowing that she did PJ? Well, I'm like, because I'm cool with everybody. And I love people and I don't burn bridges and ruin relationships. I only do that when I'm stepping on ants. You don't know where it's going to take you or what kind of relationships you need in order to be able to get to the next level. And I've largely been able to pull strings in order to get certain people into my sphere and then build that relationship with them, which then allows for me to be able to reach out to them and ask them a favor. Because I do big things for big people and I treat them well. When they come in, I fly them first class. When I'm here, I make sure that I lend them my driver, I lend them my S class and all of that. So much so, Lamar loved my S class so much that he literally bought one the exact same color and the exact same insides with the red interior and all of that. And so, yeah. We're going to get it. We're going to get it. And Anton definitely is going to continue to mine this out because one of my Grail interviews is Ye. But listen to what he said. Listen to what he said really quickly. This is what he said about Ye.
For the man that I know that who played that music to uplift my soul after I came out that coma,
Yeah.
I can't see him hating anyone.
You know, the thing about it is we had extensive conversations off camera, right? And he just straight up told me, he said, listen, man, he said, Ye played some music for me when I was in my coma. And he said, I felt out of it. I didn't feel like myself. I didn't even have any kind of existence. He said, but once I started having Ye play that music and participate in my life, it was like life was breathed in me. It was like something came back forth from within me. And I was just like, I was listening to him and I said, yo, that's deep. That's deep. And so you don't know who's a friend or who's a foe. The very same people that they kill, those tend to be the ones that have the most or the best or is the most fervent and being faithful and continuing to build people. And the ones that they celebrate the most tend to be the ones that is the worst for you. You just don't know who's going to be an angel and who's going to play a huge role in your life. And I think that we just got to be very, very careful. We've seen multiple different stories. And one of the themes that I see happening throughout the society today is there's this narrative being painted between good and evil and trying to determine who's good and who's bad. The narrative is who's good and who's bad. Is it me? Am I with the black hoodie that call myself the darkest angel? Would you consider me bad? Or would you consider me good? Think about that for a second. I want to deep dive into this show. And so this young lady, somebody sent me this video and I said, you know what? This is more up my speed, more up my alley. And she breaks down and has a conversation based off of the idea that she was recently laid off from Microsoft. As a matter of fact, I believe she dropped this video within the last few days. And so she breaks down and talks about being laid off from Microsoft and what she could have done differently. And I can tell that she's a very young woman, not very, very young, but she's still in her 20s. And I thought that this would be a good switch up, change up, especially we got Thanksgiving coming up. I don't want to continue to mine out all of the things that's the negative stuff. I know you got the Shanquella thing and everything like that, but I want to deep dive into something that's a little bit more interesting that I can break down for you guys. And I have not watched the video yet, but it seems to be a relatively lengthy video in which she deep dives into her experience of being laid off from this big tech company. And I think that is something that we should have a conversation about. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get straight into the video, ladies and gentlemen.
It is Sunday evening. I hop into my work email and there is a calendar invite from my manager that just says Neha Andre Sync. And I'm like, this is sort of weird because he usually doesn't send me one-off meetings. We have a reoccurring one-on-one. So this was super odd. And there was no context in the meeting. It was just sync. And it was for Monday morning, 8:30 a.m.
So one of the things that it seems as though probably alarmed her was the idea that there is an industry shift happening right now in which there are a lot of people being laid off. As a matter of fact, I just read an article that said Elon Musk is laying off even more Twitter employees. So either that company was super bloated. I think it's a lot of workers that's just really gotten comfortable nowadays. And so managers are drilling down to find out who's productive and who's not. But let's continue.
Mind at this point is freaking out, and the rational side of me is saying, okay, Neha, relax, don't catastrophize, things are gonna be fine. I have trouble sleeping that night, and then at 8:25 I log into Teams, and just as I'm about to get into the meeting, I see that there is someone who was not on the calendar invite already in there, and so I hover over her name and it says Senior HR Director. And at that point I'm like, holy shit, Neha, like you either have done something really wrong or you're getting laid off. At that point, I just clicked enter and immediately my manager started reading from a script. He said, hello, we are sorry to inform you that your role has been terminated, blah, 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 blah. So a lot of people are curious about what it means to be laid off.
So whenever a manager starts reading from a script, there is no coming back. There is no negotiating. Don't sit here and cry. Listen, you're going to have to take your L like everybody else, and we hope that you have not adjusted your lifestyle to reflect what it is that you was making, because that shift is coming. That shift is coming, and I hope that she dives into some other things, but I'm definitely going to deep dive a little bit further into what it means to be laid off, why you should pivot and make adjustments, what adjustments you should make, and then how you should deal with it effectively, and then what's to come, because I think that that's really the conversation. What you tend to see in industries is that it usually happens at large company first, and then it trickles down into different parts of the economy. And really the question that you really want to go into is, should you get that basket weaving degree? Because it seems as though those that are on the chopping block first are women and those in diversity and inclusion. But let's continue.
For me, my layoff date was October 17th. And then I had 2 weeks of access to internal company resources, to the org chart, to internal teams and email. And then I'm still considered an employee 2 months out from my layoff date. So for me, that would be December 16th, since my layoff period was October 17th. On top of that, Microsoft gave me a severance package. The severance package is determined by effectively how long you were at the company. So I've been there for 4 years, and for context, I got 4 weeks of base pay. The way that they calculate it is they give you 1 week of base pay for every 6 months of regular service, up to a max of 39 weeks, and then they reduce it by 0.2 weeks for each business day in the period that you're paid as an employee.
So here's the thing though. Here's the biggest part of this whole thing. Back when the 2008 recession hit, for a lot of us, there was no severance. It was just a straight layoff. When the 2008 recession hit, there was no severance. It was just a layoff. You went, you filed for unemployment, you got whatever unemployment paid you every 2 weeks if you were qualifying for unemployment, and that was the end of it. You just had to hustle, go get a job. It wasn't no severance package, wasn't no healthcare coverage. What no, we gonna help you find a new job, none of that. It was just, listen, we letting you go. There's nothing you can do about it. And if you was a contractor, it was even worse because you didn't get nothing. Like outside of the unemployment, you didn't really get anything as a contractor. And so when I see what her package is, it's much different and much better than what we used to get back in the day. But let's continue.
With Microsoft, they're going to give me 6 months of my health insurance as it is now. I'm on a high deductible plan. I don't pay premiums. And so that's going to continue for 6 months, and they're going to take care of paying all of the premiums, which is really generous because the premiums are about anywhere between $650 to $750 per month, and they're going to cover that. So that means effectively I have 6 months of health insurance for free until about July. For stock vesting, I get 6 months of that, and then whatever vests during that 6-month period vests, and then everything else I lose, which is honestly a lot. You get some other benefits. There's some career coaching stuff that comes with it, but I don't know how good that'll be, honestly. I will soon receive a box where I ship my laptop back, so I don't expect to keep that. My vacation days will get paid out, which is good. Not all of them, but some of them. And then everything I use as an employee, I can keep until December 16th, even though I was laid off in October.
So basically, and this is not uncommon, especially during times in which things are a little bit shaky, to where a company, or companies that are looking to do layoffs, they usually do them before the end of the year. And then they start back hiring if the economy starts to go back to normal, in which I expect for us to be in this recession for at least another year, maybe at most 18 months. The 2018 recession technically only lasted. Now, the residual effects from the recession was really, really bad. But the recession itself typically, officially, I believe, only lasted a little less than 2 years, which is a very long time. And then the economy started to grow back again, and they started to get things in order and so on and so forth, whatever. But the fact that she got a severance, healthcare coverage, got to hold on to her laptop and didn't even ship it back until a specific time. Also, it sounds like she was working from home, so she wasn't even having to go in the office in the first place, which means that you really need to be productive and show your value and your worth, or they're going to identify you as not being worth it. And then also on top of that, she got her vacation days paid out, in which if you get laid off or you decide that you want to quit, not get fired, laid off or quit, you usually get your vacation days. I remember when I left the University of Michigan, and the University of Michigan was one of the best places that I've ever worked at, not because of the pay, because I've never cared about the pay. I have not spent a regular paycheck, in well over 10 to 12 years. I have not spent a regular paycheck in well over 10 to 12 years, right? Shout out to AE. AE says, I am all Negro, black woman, and I got promoted at my tech company. I know a young redheaded white woman. She got promoted. This woman can be rehired again at Microsoft. She can be rehired at Microsoft, especially if you don't leave in a bad light. Most young people are emotional, and so they'll never probably go back to the company that laid them off simply because they are emotional. But she can get hired back at this company. Shout out to you. Thank you for the fireball. Thank you for all of the super chats. Let's continue.
So the legal services, the mental health services, I'll have access until December. In terms of how long I will be paid until, again, I'm an employee until December, and then I get my severance after that. So for me, I'll be paid until January 16th, even though I got laid off.
She says she got paid for 4 months. Wow, she got 4 months of pay, even though she got laid off. And so now if she was smart and she was really on top of things, then that means that she would have hit the streets and been getting double the paychecks while she was technically laid off from Microsoft, while also getting the healthcare coverage and so on and so forth. But she got 4 months of pay on top of her vacation pay, on top of benefits for 6 months. And then she got a really, really good package, Shout out to JT Coin Reese. He says, hello, Anton and the Bag Chasers. I appreciate you, big dog. AE says, Anton, this is the standard severance for big tech. Correct. It is a standard severance for big tech. I'm not so sure about Twitter. Elon Musk is not really playing no games over there at Twitter, but it is the standard severance package for Meta, Microsoft, all of those different types of companies.
On October 17th. The most frustrating thing about this is that things were going really well with my manager and I, right? Every one-on-one we had, he said, Neha, I love how much initiative you're taking. Not only are you doing what you need to, but you're going above and beyond. In our last rewards conversation, he gave me the most increase in salary that really is possible. We had a conversation about promoting me in December. It's like every indication that I had was that I was doing well. I was doing what I needed to do. My rewards were showing it. And then this happens. So it's just frustrating how completely blindsided I was by it. The funny thing is that 3 months earlier, I'm working and then I get a ping from my manager and he says, hey Neha, can you chat for a few minutes? And back then I also got scared. I was like, oh man, is he gonna lay me off? But I hopped into the chat and he said, listen, we had to let go of these people in our team. And this was in the July layoff. And I mean, honestly, I was really upset and sad. Those people were phenomenal workers and did not deserve to get laid off. But
how do you know what you deserve? This is the question that we have to start asking ourselves. What do you deserve? How do you say whether or not you deserve or don't deserve to do anything? You are an at-will employee. You make a lot of money. You are being paid, and you understand that you are an at-will employee. And so the minute that you start to get comfortable, ladies and gentlemen, is the time that you start to get and catch those L's. Nobody should ever say, I don't deserve this. You deserve whatever your current circumstances are, which allows for you to really be able to propel yourself to be much more successful. Now, I understand that these people are younger. They have never really been through anything. They largely have been coddled. They work from home. They're making a decent amount of money. They're getting all of the pay raises and the salaries, and they're getting comfortability and all of this other type of stuff. But see, this is one of the benefits that I believe that when you are raised in a certain environment and you're able to come out of it, you come from a space where you don't believe that you deserve anything. And so you're a lot more cautious. You're a lot more proactive. You take care of business a little bit differently. You're always prepared for the worst. You don't have any crazy expectations. And you're just blessed and appreciative as you continue to ascend up the ladder, which also makes you a lot more it gives you a lot thicker skin to be able to endure through certain things in order to propel yourself to be much more successful. But let's continue.
I didn't think too much of it. I just kind of assumed that I was safe for another year. I mentally remember thinking this. I was like, all right, I didn't get laid off. I made the cut. I have at least another year. And I even mentally said, okay, maybe in 6 months I'll start interviewing because I don't want to be a part of a company that's reducing their workforce. That means they're not growing, right?
Maybe in 6 months I'll start interviewing.
Yeah, I made the mistake of assuming that there wouldn't be more layoffs. And I think now I'm a lot less naive about that. But the future company that I'll work at, I truly know that they don't know, the managers don't know, the leadership doesn't know, because honestly, these decisions come from oftentimes 3 or 4 levels above them, right? Some exec decides, hey, we don't need this product anymore, or hey, we don't need this team anymore. And then that entire team loses their job.
And that's the reality, is that you think that just because you have a good relationship with your manager, that means something, when the reality is whether or not they're going to keep you is the value that you bring to the company, not whether or not you have just a great relationship with the one person that's above you. Now, the one caveat that I will tell you guys is that it's important for you to have a relationship with the people that are 2 and 3 levels above you. I have great relationships with everybody. As a matter of fact, I do drive-bys in offices and so on and so forth. And this position that I have right now was directly as a result of the relationship that I had with people that were 2 and 3 levels above me. Because then at some point they leave and then they say, hey, Anton, I want to take you with me. I'm going to create a position for you because it's important that I have you on my team than not. And so it is very important for you to have great relationships with the people that are 2 and 3 levels above you, as well as your manager. Because that can be the determining factor for whether or not you're going to get a bag or not. Because again, your network is your net worth.
I was talking to a friend who got laid off, and that's exactly what happened in his case. Basically, everyone in his org, up to his VP, lost their job. One of the most disappointing things is that I was on a team that I thought was safe. I was on Azure, which is a huge money-making machine for Microsoft. We thought we were safe. Our product was responsible for 50% of the revenue of cloud migration deals. So we were important, right? We weren't the, freaking Windows Phone. And I mean, no shade to the Windows Phone. I mean, maybe a little shade, but yeah, we did contribute to the company. And so, yeah, apparently it wasn't enough. At the end of the day, I don't think that you can predict who's going to get cut or what team. I think
Baby, you're not pretty enough. You're not pretty enough to be able, and listen, she is a pretty girl, but you're just not pretty enough to be able to determine whether or not you're going to keep your job or not, baby girl. You got to make it move, make it shake, make it do what it do. I'm just messing with you.
Really does depend on which person is making the decision.
I see somebody in the chat, they said this job sounds boring. What job sounds boring? Listen, a job is a means to an end. It's ability to be able to earn so that you can do what you want to do. You do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. You guys have to be careful in making sure you keep putting some kind of stock in your title or your job. You've never seen me say I am the director of this or the VP of this or anything like that from the position that I have. And I'm going to tell you why. My job is a bag chaser. My job is not to be defined by some title that somebody gives me. You've never heard me say I'm the CEO or the president of this particular company that I own or that I work for, or I got this many people working for me. You've never seen me say that. It's because my job is to get money. It is a trading of my time for resources so that I can then do what I want to do with the resources that you then pay me. That's it. Stop putting too much stock in the positions that you have and then leading with that in order to determine whether or not you are a valuable person or not in this society. Your job is to make money. Your job is to generate revenue, and then what you do with those resources then determines whether or not you're going to be rich or not. Stop getting emotionally connected to the positions that you hold or the titles that you carry, because that is nothing more than smoke and mirrors in order to make you feel good about yourself.
That being said, I think there are some trends that I've seen. Take all of this with a grain of salt because it's just my opinion, not definitive data-driven information. But I have noticed that a lot more non-technical roles are being affected than technical roles.
Did you hear what she said? A lot more non-technical roles are more affected than technical roles. Your marketing teams, diversity and inclusion, training teams, middle management and bloatware, right? All of these people that's just floating around, not really truly adding any value, but it seems as though they are because they hold a title and a position, are the ones that is going to be affected the most. If you are some form of an engineer, right? If you have a background that allows for you to be in sales, a lot of people sleeping on sales. A lot of people don't want to do sales because they have to actually do something and work hard. And you got to, you eat what you kill, but they make a lot of money. If you are not adding to the bottom line of the company or the productivity of the company, you will be affected first. You are going to be the first to go. Somebody said the yoga team.
Be more likely to be laid off if you're in a PM or a marketing or a
PM meaning project manager, marketing. I have not even seen this video, but I'm literally just saying exactly what it is she's saying.
writing role rather than a software engineering role. But again,
She just said it. Let me rewind it for y'all one time. I'm going to go back 30 seconds and I'm going to rewind that. Shout out to Aaron. Aaron says, boring, what does that even mean? If a job is boring, it means you're not applying yourself enough, which may be an indication of career growth. Facts. I agree with that. Thank you, Aaron, for the fireball. Listen to what she said.
Team, I think it really does depend on which person is making the decision. That being said, I think there are some trends that I've seen. Take all of this with a grain of salt because it's just my opinion, not definitive data-driven information. But I have noticed that a lot more non-technical roles are being affected than technical roles. It might be more likely to be laid off if you're in a PM or a marketing or a writing role rather than a software engineering role. But again,
Keep It Techie says you can't get comfortable in your position. Keep training, interviewing so you can bring the most value possible. Facts. My rule of thumb is 3 years. After about 3 years, somebody should start getting the itch. And after about 4 years, you should definitely be looking to move. 3 years, you should be looking to get the itch. 4 years, it's about time for you to start moving. That's my general rule of thumb. 3 years allows for you to be able to get something done. You can participate in projects. You're not just leaving in the middle of a project that they brought you on. It also shows stability, and you don't really have any big gaps and big jumping around on your resume as far as job jumping. 4 years, you are probably in a space where you're starting to get a little bit comfortable, and you need to start making some different decisions and pivoting on how it is that you can do things differently so that you can start actually leveling up and going to the next level. Now, if you just want to be comfortable with a company for a long time, then just stick around and wait for something to happen, and then you play it by ear from there. But 3 to 4 years is when you should start getting the itch and start exploring your options, and being open to the possibility of leaving the company or moving on into a different position.
and that doesn't always hold. My role was pretty technical and yet still got laid off. Another commonality is if your role is costing the company money or is not producing revenue. If
Yep.
it's a part of a speculative investment, maybe they're trying to test out a new feature that
Shout out to the metaverse over there at Meta.
doesn't yet produce revenue, or maybe a product that is weaning in growth. So for example, for Microsoft, the Internet Explorer team at Microsoft did have layoffs. So any declining product like that,
And it should have layoffs. And a lot of people don't realize that you can't just move somebody into a different position, especially based off of their skill set and what it is that they've been working on for an extended period of time, which is one of the reasons why it's important for you to continue to refine your skills and not just lean into one position. Not just lean into one position because you specialize in that position instead of specializing in a specific skill set, which then makes it difficult for them to be able to move you into a new team because the only thing you know is doing that one thing.
might be affected more than others. The other thing that's interesting is that on my team, the newest members were cut on the team. I've also heard in other layoffs that the most senior person on the team is laid off because they're
Now, before she even starts to go into her reasoning and her opinion, a lot of times it's not just based off of paying compensation, believe it or not. It's not based off of paying compensation as far as determining whether or not you're the oldest or the most senior or whatever like that. Sometimes it can be, but most times it's not, especially as it relates to bigger companies. A lot of times the most senior person is the one that's floating, but also younger people cost less. And then in addition to that, they tend to sometimes work a little bit harder because they feel like they got more to prove. Older people a lot of times get comfortable, and those are the ones that get cut the first.
getting paid a bunch of money. So it sounds like it could go either way. If you think probabilistically, the likelihood of you getting laid off is low.
Fed and Corp, I've been in the Fed and Corp space for over 15 years. I don't care what your role or job is with a company. If you're not C-suite, then you can be replaced easily. And if you are C-suite and your division is not necessarily performing, you will probably be one of the first to go. And that is also true. We see what happened over at Disney. For those of you that did not watch my video about the CEO of Disney getting fired, which I was overjoyed because I felt like he was doing a horrible job. And also, I don't really care for Disney as a company anymore. He had only been in a job for 2 years, and he had been with the company for decades. And they let him go and brought back the old CEO and said, let's right this ship. It's all a eat what you kill. We only basing this off of your performance of what it is that you do. They're not basing it off of how long you've been with the company or how they feel about you. It is results driven once you get to a certain level within a company. If the company start performing badly, you are going to be one of the first ones on the chopping block.
But I'm just saying, if you are in an organization or a company that is really hurting, personally, I think it's better to jump ship beforehand so that you have control and it's not them pushing you out. It can.
Shout out to AE, says hip hop is a young man's game. Birdman and tech. It is a young man's game. Typically, it is a young man's game, which is one of the reasons why you want to level up. You know, I talk to a lot of people and they say, Anton, should I do a boot camp or should I go and try to get a degree? And I say, okay, well, let's weigh the pros and the cons, right? And they say, well, I want to do the boot camp because it gets me in there faster. And I say, well, what's the long-term goal? Just to get a job as a software engineer, just to get a job in cybersecurity, just to get a job as a project manager, just to get a job as a scrum master, just to get a job as front end, back end, who knows, whatever, right? They just want to get their foot in the door. And so one of the things that I tell them is that my goal was never just to be a code monkey. My goal was always to be able to jump past whatever my current circumstances is. Getting my foot in the door was the reason why I got my degree. My skill set and my ability to be able to network effectively is the reason why, is what I'm really working on while I'm at work every day. And so I never just wanted to get my foot in the door. I always wanted to level up and become a part of management, where you know, where the real bags are, where the equity is, where the bonuses are, everything like that. And so I've kind of actually reached a level right now with this new position where I can't really get any higher or I'm going to become a lot more visible, which then will allow, you know, wouldn't be good for my YouTube channel and all of that other type of stuff. Shout out to the doxers. But I can't really do anything more at this point without becoming more visible. And so I've kind of reached a level where I'm just kind of comfortable in the position that I'm at until I decide to leave the company. But let's continue.
Be really unclear who decides who gets laid off. I've spoken with other hiring managers and there seems to be more layoffs coming, at least for Microsoft, although no one really knows for sure. So that's why I made these videos, because we need to start having conversations about what it's like, what to expect. For folks who still have jobs, what they can do differently. This video is if you still have a job, learning from things that I wish I had done differently, things that I've learned. And then there's a second video for folks who have already gotten laid off about actionable things you should do during your 2 weeks of access, questions to ask your manager, just the emotional stuff that we went through. If you have any friends who got laid off, definitely send them that video. It's like at least 4 or 5 hours of research that I did that I hope that they don't have to do. What I've heard talking to 5+ senior people at Microsoft is that there seems to be different types of layoffs. One where there truly are decisions that are made multiple levels high and there just isn't that much control over who gets laid off or not. And then there's the other type of decision where it really does come down to maybe your boss and your boss's boss deciding who on the team gets laid off. You're never going to get laid off without your manager knowing about it beforehand. Your manager needs to approve the final list.
That is true. I've spoken with my managers, the managers that work for me, and although we have not laid anybody off, and we don't plan to because we actually doing really, really well in my business. And I'm talking about corporate America specifically. We all know and we all watch and we pay attention to who's the high performers, who we like the most, and who it is that we would let go in case anything ever happened. We have this unwritten list and conversations on a regular basis about the performance and how people are doing. We speculate on who has another job, based off of whether or not people make meetings or not. We know who's going to be late. We know who's going to rock out. We know every single thing about everybody, and we have this note in our head about what it is that's going on. So it's kind of interesting to hear her talk about it, because it has to be something else going on there. It has to be more than just what it is that she's presenting to us. Because if you telling me that she just was blindsided, I call BS on that, because she was already talking about, well, I thought that I would have at least another year and then I would start looking for a job then. If you are on a high performing team, especially cloud infrastructure, like Azure, right? Azure is Microsoft's version or the Microsoft competitor to AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, which is the competitor to Oracle's cloud, iCloud, Google Drive, so on and so forth, right? If you are on a high-performing team and you are doing awesome, let's think about this for a minute, and you're on a product that is generating over 50% of the revenue to the company, why in God's green earth would you ever anticipate the possibility of getting laid off? Think about that for a minute. If you are on a high-performing team, why on God's green earth, and you are great at what you do, and your manager ping you, if my manager ever pings me, I never say, "Oh man, what did I do?" I'm fully expecting to have a great conversation. I want to know what the next compensation is going to be, what you deciding to give me. The management decided to give me another bonus. How long do you want me to stay? I'm thinking a little bit differently because I already understand the value that I bring to the company. I'm never thinking, oh man, what did I do? Am I about to get laid off right now? I don't anticipate that because I already know the value that I bring. And so I'm kind of thinking a little bit differently about what she's saying. And that's why you can't just take it at face value. I'm trying to understand whether or not she's really high performing or if she's just capping.
And so if you got laid off, it means that your manager probably did not fight for you the way that you think they might. And if they did, then they would tell you that. In my case, I'd heard from another manager on a previous team that when he had heard about my layoff, he went to his boss's boss trying to see if there was anything that could have been done to reverse the role or get me into a different team.
Cap. That is cap. That is 100% cap. She's saying that her boss, she talked to a manager. So you telling me you closer to a manager on another team that has a parallel position to the manager that you have, and when he heard that you was getting laid off, he fought for you, but your manager didn't. Okay. What am I missing here? Somebody tell me something. What am I missing here? And again, it's a great story and it's a great video and it's animated beautifully and everything like that. But I'm being communicated to wrong, or maybe I'm just missing something. Are you telling, first of all, he didn't fight for you like that. He did not fight for you like that. He told you that. He sold you a narrative, but he did not fight for you like that.
He told me what he did to advocate for me. So if your manager has not told you that he did those things, most likely he hasn't. The other thing to consider is that a lot of managers have a very non-confrontational personality, and so that just means that if your name's on the list, they're just not the type of personality to go to bat for you, and that's just...
And it ain't that they non-confrontational, is that they trying to say, listen, what you think that they trying to do? What do you think that these managers are trying to... They're trying to save themselves. They're not trying to cape for you. They trying to cape for their own family because they at home and they got mouths to feed, and it's necessary for them to be able to save themselves. What makes you think that they going to bat for you? They not even guaranteed to have a job tomorrow.
Again, the reality. We had one member on our team, Alan, who was just extremely knowledgeable about the code base, and him and my manager were just a covalent bond. You could not separate them. Alan had worked with my manager on this product for over 7 years, and he knew it inside and out. He knew what needed to be changed. He could educate people about it. He could talk so deeply about the nuances of the legacy code. Fundamentally, Alan was irreplaceable. And I don't think that you can predict or prevent a layoff, but if there is someone who I think is the least likely, it is someone who is that level of irreplaceable. So I think if you're looking for tips, if you want my honest answer.
So, translation. Alan is still working there, and whatever this girl's name is, Preeti, Lana, we're just going to call her employee A. Employee A here is absolutely replaceable. Alan, and for all intents and purposes, we know that Alan is probably white. I don't know any Allens personally that's black. So I'm just going to assume that Alan is white because every Alan that I've ever met in my entire life is actually white. Alan, Neha, her name is Neha. Alan is still working. Alan is comfortable. Alan is making a lot of money. Alan is paid more than her, and Alan gets to keep his job. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, why is she laid off? Number one. And number two, are subconsciously women the first ones to go and the ones that suffer the most during a recession, during layoffs? Oh, Allen Iverson. Shout out to Allen Iverson. True. Forgot about Allen Iverson. But are women more likely to be laid off, and are they subconsciously more affected during layoffs and recessions? Let's continue.
Work on being irreplaceable. The problem with that advice is that no one can really do that on the spot, right? It just takes years of cultivating that. He had been working on that product for a long, long time. And in this case, the newest members were cut. The thing about Alan is that he was incredibly irreplaceable, and as a result, he was oftentimes really rude to other team members. And this was common knowledge. Everyone kind of knew that he was prickly and oftentimes criticized certain ideas. The reason I bring this story up is to show the power of being irreplaceable. And this is a bad example because a good manager, in my opinion, would have talked to Alan and said, listen, I know you are extremely valuable to the team, but we're getting complaints from X, Y, and Z person, and that's not okay. But
no. What do y'all think, that this is the Victim Olympics? Listen, man, Alan is over there talking and shit, and Alan is probably right because you worried about him being rude, but Alan over there ain't sleeping at night because he working and he only sleeping 3 hours, and this dude is pulling a double shift in order to be able to get that code done, in order to get this project done. Y'all clock out at 5 o'clock. Alan still be up online doing work, and his manager can see it, and he's extremely knowledgeable, and he's been doing this shit, and he probably taught you something, and you think that the manager give a flying fuck about what Alan is doing? You are out of your mind. Listen, all of that training, diversity, inclusion, training videos that they give y'all during the human resources that you got to go through and pass the test, all of that's cute, but when the rubber meets the road, Alan is the money maker. Don't nobody care. What have I been telling y'all for the last 2+ years? Fuck your feelings. The only thing that matters are the results. The only thing that matters is the results. Alan might be evil. Alan might not fuck with you. Alan might think that you stupid. But Alan is over here putting in that work and he don't care nothing about you. Alan is a winner. Alan has been making more money in his entire life than you ever will, and you are a snowflake in Alan's mind. He don't give a fuck about you. And don't sit here and tell me what a good manager is doing. That's why listen, let me tell you who the manager fought for. Alan. They say, yo, okay, who on your team is irreplaceable? Alan. Meanwhile, the other manager was over there trying to cape for you just because he thought that you was pretty. And then he was simping out for you. The smart one was like, yo, I'm going with Alan. Give me A. I don't care nothing about Neha. Give me A. Alan over there. Because Alan don't give a fuck about nobody's feelings. Alan is trying to get this code done. Talking about pulling Alan. You don't touch Alan. You don't say nothing to Alan. You let him rock out. Shut that shit down.
Because this person was so irreplaceable, he got away with a lot of things that I think a lot of people wouldn't. And yeah, that was just
Emotions.
the reality. So anyway, that's a depressing view of being irreplaceable.
She was frustrated in the mug, wasn't she? Nobody cared. I'm just telling y'all that, listen, y'all want to know the truth? She should have become Alan's work wife. Facts. Y'all want to know the truth? Do you want to know the truth of what it's like in corporate America? Everything is a competition. You can be friends, you can be cool, but let's be clear. It is a competition. Every single thing is a competition. It's not about how you feel. It's about the results. I'm telling you.
But my point here is that I don't think you can prevent a layoff.
Why is she so jealous of Alan?
You can prevent your name from getting on the list, but if there was one thing that you could do, it would be being irreplaceable. I know that's not very actionable, and I know that's not satisfying, but there are a few things that I think are actionable and that I wish I had done. Recently, I was on a different organization, and we had a reorganization and moved to a completely different part of the business under a completely different team. My fatal mistake was I should have put a meeting invite on my boss's calendar just so that they know my name and that they know that I add value to the team. And
what did I say in the beginning of this live stream? What did I say in the beginning of this live stream? Did I not tell? I have not watched this video. I have not seen this video. I do not know what's going to go on. I don't know what she's going to say before she says it. I told y'all in the beginning of the video. I worked with Black Allen. I was his work partner. Listen. I told y'all in the beginning of the video, I said the first thing that you should do is build a relationship with your bosses 2 and 3 levels up above you. I said you need to build a relationship with the people that are 2 and 3 levels up above you. And now in hindsight, she's telling you, listen, the first thing that I should have did when I got into the team, because now the only impression they have of you is what somebody else says about you to them, specifically from your direct manager, who you knowingly admitted that they didn't fight for you. Ray Sean said, I wanted to hear Alan's side. I bet it's different. Shout out to Ray Sean. AE says, Anton, his name was Alan and he was black. I bet you he was. Shout out to Patrick Hill says, they don't want to see you, girl. I told y'all the first thing that you need to do is build a relationship with the people that are 2 and 3 levels up and add value to their lives also, and build a relationship so that they can understand not only what it is that you're doing in the company, right? They have some visibility into you, but then in addition to that, your network is your net worth. And then ultimately they build a relationship even outside of it so that you can then roll with them. I told y'all. Let's hear what she got to say.
I'm just the type of person that I do my work, I do it well, and I don't think about some of this business, politic type stuff. And maybe that was my fatal mistake. And if there is something you should take away from this, it's to do that, right? Get 30 minutes of time on your boss's calendar, and you can frame it from a position of, hey, I'm Eduardo, I'm on your team, I really want to understand your career trajectory from here to here. Would you have 30 minutes to talk? no worries if not. And then get into that meeting and just really be likable, show your value, ask them if there's any other area of the business that you could help in. At the end, they really like you, they like your initiative. At that point, say, hey, this was amazing. I'm gonna go work on XYZ. Any chance I could meet with you in 2 or 3 months for 30 minutes to just tell you how it's going? And 30 minutes in 2 or 3 months is very little time that you're asking for. And I think most people would say yes. Even
I gave you the playbook. I gave you the playbook. I literally just gave y'all the playbook. I said, listen, this is how you got to go about doing it. You don't want to participate in company politics because you just want to go in and do your work. And what I'm telling you is that you are going to be the first person on the chopping block. All of that's cute and fine and dandy when everything is going well in the economy and can't nobody spot you because, you know, they don't know whether or not you want a meeting or not. And they don't know if you got some kind of mouse mover to make sure that your computers stay open. But the reality is that I'm telling you that politics matter in everything. It is going to be the determining factor for whether or not I get yay. It's going to be the determining factor for whether or not I rock out with certain people, adding them onto my calendar. I fill people out. Eventually, people fill themselves out, and I determine whether or not I should continue to rock with them based off of their character. I don't rock with everybody just because they talented or the most talented or the least talented. I've gotten rid of people both in content creation and in corporate America that thought that they were better than what they really were and utilize me or my platform in order to get themselves some visibility. I've gotten out of that and I've said, you know what? You're not worth it because I don't necessarily care for you as a person, as a human being. Fuck that talent shit. I can make a star out of anybody. I can make a star out of a piece of rubber dog doo-doo. You're not unique because if you were, then you would have been popping before I got to you. You're not that awesome. You better learn how to play. You better learn how to play your cards right. Shout out. You said most bosses eventually try to smash those women by trying to block relationships with them. It's actually easier for men to do this versus women. Unless they really care about their bag, then they would probably exercise a level of dick discipline. But I mean, really, let's be clear here. You're not special. Just because you in corporate America, you go off and you do your work, or you don't want to be involved in company politics, or you don't want to pick a side and all that. Nah, it's going to be the determining factor between winning and losing. People in the middle, let me tell you something. People in the middle get ran over. Either pick a lane. Pick the left lane, the right lane, the sidewalk. People in the middle get hit. If you don't remember anything else that I tell you about this video today, the people that try to play the middle are the ones that get ran over. They get hit by cars. Pick a side. Pick the left, pick a right, and pick wisely. Choose wisely and play the politics role in everything you do. Play nice, be loyal, add value into people's lives, all of that. Don't think that you could just be in the middle and listen, I don't have an opinion or whatever, one way or another. People in the middle get ran over.
At your boss's level or 3 levels up. You could even pitch it as getting their feedback on an initiative that they care about. So if you hear them constantly talking about XYZ initiative, walk them through ways it could be improved or something like that. If you're like me, I know your instinct is to just do your work and just hope things will work out. I think in this environment, it doesn't hurt to try. And the logic behind that is that oftentimes these layoffs come from not your manager, but your manager's manager. And so you want them to look at a list.
Listen. If you don't think that they speak to it, she just proved her own. She shot her own self in the foot. She said, listen, the person that was on my team that was indispensable, even though people thought that he was an asshole sometimes and he didn't always play ball, was Allen, right? You think that the person that was above your manager's manager even know who the fuck Allen was? Maybe. But if you don't think that the manager, and they asked him, listen, who on your team is indispensable? And they was like, listen, we want to go with Nihal, you want to go with Allen. He was like, fuck Nihal, give me Allen. They speak directly with them, and they have one-on-ones with them in the same way that you have one-on-ones with your manager, and they ask you how you doing and how you feel. I have never had a one-on-one with any manager, and I'm talking about that's above me, right? Complaints go up, not down. Complaints go up, not down. I've never had a one-on-one with a manager where you've ever heard me complain ever. I've never complained. I don't care how hard the workload is. I don't care about the inconveniencing of the scheduling. I don't give a fuck about what nobody else is saying on the team as far as whether I like them or not. As far as I'm concerned, everybody on the team I love, and I have to figure out how to add value into your life. Listen, I completely turn the conversation over from, hey, Anton, how's everything going? Is there anything I can help you with? By the end of the conversation, the question is, hey, what is it that I can help you with? How can I add value into your life? How can I make you much more successful? Because I understand that your success is my success. And if you don't think that that translates both subconsciously and consciously into the conversations to determine who's going to be laid off and not, you are a whole fool, not a half a fool. You a whole fool. Not Whole Foods, not the grocery store, a whole fool. Not a D, an L.
Of people and think that's a human that I'm laying off versus, oh, that's just a name. And the only way you do that is by cultivating a relationship with them. There's a second thing I wish I had done. You know how when we work, we just meet people and have a good time, we finish the project, and then we just don't really keep in touch with them? This has happened to me a lot because I've worked here for 4 years and there's a lot of people who really like me and I just didn't cultivate that relationship. And if I were to go back while I wasn't laid off, I would just set up a 30-minute catch-up sync with all of my past colleagues and just do that every 2 or 3 months.
Build the relationship. Building the relationship. It is going to be the determining factor for whether or not you are successful. You have to build the relationship with people. You know, I did this video a long time ago and people missed it, right? They were so busy trying to figure out who my daughter was instead of trying to understand what the lesson is. And I had this video where I took my daughter to work with me. And I took her all the way from the lunchroom to the janitor's closet, and I introduced her to everybody. And I also took her all the way up into the executive suites where I existed, right? Where I lived. And I talked to her. And in the video, I said, listen, you speak to everybody. You love everybody. You build a relationship with everybody. You learn to interact with everybody on a personal level. And you network effectively. And my daughter, to this day, has taken that to heart.
The reason why is because I think relationships and networks are fruit trees in the sense that you really need to water them over time and cultivate them before you go to them for help, right? If you go to them after 3 years of silence and
thank you, Miss Annie. I appreciate you for the 20 ball.
Postings, it's kind of awkward and it's kind of like you
asking
love for a favor versus them just helping a friend. My manager has said, at least at Microsoft, that you can come back, there's no stigma, and that in some cases the hiring recruiters will try and expedite the interview for you. I have not verified that per se with my experience. What I've actually found is contrary to that company line. What Microsoft does, and I think what a lot of tech companies do, is as soon as they lay off employees, they effectively put a hiring freeze on roles. And part of that could be for liability protection. When you lay off an employee, that hiring manager cannot hire another person for that position. Otherwise, they effectively open themselves up to a lawsuit.
Actually, they can. And you're an at-will employee. By your agreement that you sign when you go into these big tech companies, and even for startups, you are literally an at-will employee. Now, the problem with society, especially over there in California, is that these courts go by feeling, and so they determine whether or not they're going to even grant you a lawsuit. Or a company often at times will say, well, listen, we don't even want the headache that comes along with litigation because it costs us more to just have these lawyers on a daily basis even litigating with you, and so they'll settle out of court. But in your agreement, you are literally an at-will employee, and they can hire and fire you as they see fit.
My experience has been that there are a ton of openings, but when I went in and researched if they were truly open, it turns out that a lot of those positions were frozen. And there's also a stigma attached to being laid off, so you will likely have to prove to the new hiring manager that there wasn't something wrong with your performance. And the best way I would recommend doing that is talk to your current manager and say, listen, this business decision that Microsoft has made or your company has made will affect my ability to get another job. If I go to Google or Amazon or any other company, I have to tell them that I got laid off. And that hiring manager might wonder, hey, was it a performance issue? Something that me and my manager are doing now is every time I have a successful interview with a hiring manager, I will basically reply a thank you letter to that hiring manager, and then I'll CC my current manager. And my manager will send a template that I made that says, oh, Neha's great, basically endorsing me to that hiring manager so that they know that it's not performance related. And then I'm also going to send them copies of my performance reviews, which were all, wonderful. I also include contact information for my past 2 managers who can speak to my abilities. So that is how you avoid getting blacklisted. The reality is there is a stigma and you will have to overcome it. But generally, yes, you can absolutely come back to the company. I know at Microsoft, there were people who got laid off and came back later. One thing you have to be really careful about is that if you get another offer from another Microsoft team during the time that you were laid off but you're still an employee, regardless of whether you accept it or not, you lose your severance package. So for me, that would be December 16th since my layoff period was October 17th. The reason they give you a severance package is because they're saying, hey, look, it's not you, it's not a performance issue, we screwed up, and so we're going to give you this package because of that. So for example, if you've worked there for 10 years, you have a lot of money in that package. For me, it's only about a month's worth of base pay, so it's perhaps smaller. I would probably take an offer from another team over 1 month of base pay, but that is a strategic decision that you should make. Ideally, you talk to your...
She worked there for 4 years and only got 1 month of base pay when she got laid off. That sounds a little off for some reason. I don't know why, but let's continue.
Hiring manager who's writing you the new offer and say, hey, listen, can you write this offer and give it to me December 17th or 18th after you officially stop being an employee. The cool thing about severance and unemployment is that you can collect them at the same time. The severance bonus is paid as a lump sum, and then I can just collect unemployment whenever my unemployment date hits, effectively. I did try and negotiate the severance package, but it was extremely difficult. They make it really hard to get in touch with someone in HR.
Now, I've never heard of this before, personally. I've never heard of an employee, a regular employee, a code monkey, being able to negotiate their severance package. I've never heard of this in my life. Most people are just happy to get a severance package because you are not in a position of power. You are not in a position of negotiating. Being in a position of power is, listen, they want you so bad that they literally don't feel like they can go without you, or the value that you add is so great that they will end up bend over backwards in order to get you. They paid me an egregious amount of money to be able to come on board to the company. I mean, so much so to where he almost paused at the number just to sign on to the company in the first place. And listen, an egregious amount of money to be able to come into the company. That is a fact. Shout out to Gore. He says, am I wrong for nodding in approval when these diversity hires are laid off? Because they shouldn't have been there in the first place. Wrench Turner says she capping. When a company does layoffs, they're making a point to keep the best people. I turned in a letter of resignation and got a $50K to stay. Now, that's true. Because you can want to leave and they'll be like, listen, we'll give you whatever it is that you want to stay. That is a fact. I remember when I was at, I can say it now because I don't work there right now. I remember when I was at Comerica and I worked my way into the C-suite, right? And I had got a really big offer from a company in downtown Detroit, and I won't say any names because I have not worked there, and who knows what the future may hold. I got a really, really, really big offer. I did an interview, and I got a really big offer, and I turned it into my manager. Well, I didn't turn it into my manager. I went and had a conversation with him, and I said, yo, I'm actually leaving, and I'm about to move over into a different position. And he said, Anton, me and you have a really great relationship. I said, yep. He said, what they offer you? And I just showed him my offer letter because I don't care. It didn't matter. I was literally looking to leave, and I was not looking for them to even remotely come in with a huge offer. And they gave me an egregious amount of money to be able to stay. And so for her to sit there and tell me that it's not possible and it's based off of how they feel about you, it's partially true and it's partially false. It's both that and the value that your manager feel like you bring. So not only do you have to be great at your job, which that's your reasonable expectation, but you also you have to be able to add value to them, and they have to feel like you are good for the culture. You're good as a cultural fit. They want to work with you. They know you're going to keep their secrets. You don't have anything negative to say about them. You're always going to make them look good, so on and so forth. All of that matters, but you are absolutely right, Wrench Turner. Thank you for that.
Give you a phone number and an email, and the phone number is someone in the Philippines who has very little context for U.S. labor laws and the context of being laid off, and so they weren't able to answer some of my questions there. So just be prepared to be given a runaround with HR if you did want to talk to them and ask questions and stuff. And then just to give you some context about layoffs at other companies, I have another friend who got laid off at a tech company much smaller, but
yes, secret,
and he got 3 weeks of
secrets.
access, but many of the people underneath him, they didn't get access at all. They just had to leave.
Let me tell you something, Cherno. Let me tell you about secrets. The strongest thing that you have, one of the strongest things that you have, is the ability to be loyal. If people can trust you, especially with their secrets, or you know things about them, but you will never, ever say, and they know that for a fact. See, the difference is that when a lot of people, when they find out something about somebody, they tend to try to hold it against them. And that's the wrong approach, right? Actually, when you find out about something about somebody and you hold it down for them without them even having to ask you, because sometimes they may let you see certain things, understanding that it's not going to impact them anyway, but just to see how it is that you fit from a cultural perspective. It's almost like, I'll give you an example. It's almost like, let's say y'all all work, right? Y'all all friends and, y'all employees, whatever, and then y'all go out to go party together or go have a good time, or y'all go out to the bar, or y'all, you know what I'm saying, after work on a Friday, y'all go and drink or whatever. And then, people, they live a completely different life than what it is that they present to the job. Now, let's say that you, for whatever reason, whatever it is, you learn some things or you see some things, but you hold it down. And you don't gossip. You're not a gossip girl groupie type dude, or you're not moving salacious, or you're not in the back channels, or you're not trying to hold it over their head, but you just truly rock out with them. And it don't necessarily mean that you're going to do it or participate, but you're not a person that they cannot trust from a cultural fit, and that they want to continue to have you around and working with you. And often at times, them same people be some of the biggest managers. They be the biggest drinkers, some of the biggest womanizers. Some of them may have a side chick or two that you may have spotted or whatever, so on and so forth, and you hold it down. Not only do you hold it down, you offer to make sure that you hold them out of the way of their own demise. So you making sure that hey fam, hold on. I don't want you drinking, man, because that's not gonna look good for you. Or hold on, bro, let me make sure you get home safely. You can crash on my couch or whatever. Hey, hold on, man. That's not a good look. Such and such is in there. When you hold people down and you loyal and you're not moving like a little sucker or a gossip girl in order to make sure you get your rocks off, people, man, let me tell you something. Upper management love that because they feel like they can trust you. They feel like they can hold you down. You are a part of the cultural fit. Somebody that's always looking to be a whistleblower or complaining, man, it's not the not fair guy or the not fair girl. Well, it's not fair. It's not right because I was researching and I was trying to find out what he made, and it's not fair. Equal work for equal pay. Getting you the fuck out of there. The first opportunity that they can, you on the first thing smoking up out of there. Don't nobody want to work with a snitch. Don't nobody want to work with somebody that's always trying to make things fair. Don't nobody want to work with a whistleblower. Nobody wants to work with, and cultural fit is more important than ever. The politics of workplaces are important. I don't know what they told you. I don't know what the vibe is. I don't know what the word is, but Anton is going to give it to you straight. If y'all need to kick it with me personally, email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com, and I'm going to make sure I get you scheduled for a Zoom call or a personal call. We scheduling for January right now. I don't let my calendar get too far off before people can remember that they actually got a call scheduled. But you may need to get some coaching in corporate America and your relationships, everything. It's a way in which you have to go about doing things in order to be successful. Now, if you just want to be, I'm gonna make the world fair, life ain't fair, and I'm not for you. But if you want to understand how to be more successful and how to be great, it's a completely different conversation. And I'm gonna make sure that you get everything that you deserve by giving you the right information that's gonna allow for you to get that bag. I'm gonna give you what you need in order to get that bag. I'm not gonna tell you the thing that's going to prevent you from getting the bag. It ain't about fucking fair. It's about what you negotiate. It's about what you can get. And then using that thing and using that shovel in order to continue to level up. Real talk. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Shout out to Gravity Z and Company says. Shout out to Freaky Jason. I see that. Shout out to Freaky Jason. Yeah.
They weren't able to check their emails. They just had to leave. Because he was higher up, he had 3 weeks. And then he's getting paid 10 weeks on top of that.
See?
And then they're giving him health coverage at the same coverage that he had before for about 4 months or so, beyond the 10 weeks. And then for him, I think they're partially accelerating his stock vest. Can you trust your manager with information about whether you should be worried about a layoff or not? Before my layoff, there was a layoff 3 months ago. And I remember being scared at that time. And I said, all right, let me just check in and ask if there are going to be any more that I should be worried about. And I asked my manager not once, but 3 times.
He don't even know.
Other team members asked my manager's manager, and the answer was universally no.
They don't know.
And that was obviously wrong.
It's a different quarter. It's a completely different quarter. See, a lot of people think that these people know more than what they are, but a lot of times that can't happen. Or even if they did know, they wouldn't tell you. Why would they tell you? They know that you're going to go. See, she already been talking to her coworkers, and they've been gossiping amongst each other, talking about, hey, did you talk to him? What did he say to you? Why would he tell you? So that you can go back and tell them and tell everybody and fuck up the whole thing. Neha, you need a coaching session, baby. I like your smile. I think that you cute. You got that wet hair. And you look like you might be a little stacked from the bottom to the top. But I'm just telling you, you need some coaching, baby girl. Come tap in at Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I'll make sure I get you right, baby.
Because I got laid off. What I've learned is that you can't trust leadership with those questions. And it's not because they're lying to us.
They don't trust you.
Or because they have bad intentions. That's not it at all. It's just that they oftentimes don't know themselves and they're guessing themselves. And even if they knew for sure that the answer at that moment was no, there won't be more layoffs, some executive can decide otherwise. And it's the kind of decision that even if my manager wanted to push back against, he would not be able to, because he is completely powerless compared to his boss's boss, who might have given the directive. I was naive and I believed the leadership. And if there's one takeaway from this, I think it's that in tough economic conditions, businesses will do what they need to do to turn a profit.
For facts.
And that's just the reality of the time that we're in. And that's okay, right? Because on the flip side, we as employees are allowed to walk away at any time, right? We can screw them over in the way that they can screw us over.
I'm glad you understand that.
There's some equality in that. I was talking to a friend who was recently laid off from a small startup, and she said that she got laid off, and then 2 weeks later, the boss that laid her off got laid off himself. Yep. And of course, he had no idea, right? And it just goes to show that no one really knows. The person who you see as the most indispensable may very well be dispensable, especially if they decide to cut out a full product line. When I got laid off, I made a point of just setting up meetings with everyone who I worked with. And there was one person in particular comes to mind where I hopped into the meeting with her and she just immediately shared her screen and started saying, okay, listen, in my organization, there's this role open, there's that role open, we're going to get you a new job. We literally started going through the org chart and identifying roles that I could be a part of and talked about interview stuff. And then she said, Neha, let's set up a one-on-one sync. I'm going to refer you to all of these roles. And I was just blown away by her kindness and her sincerity and just her going above and beyond, right? It really touched my heart. Now she permanently has a special place in here that if and when I can help her out, I will go above and beyond for her too. It was
anybody that's a part of the Bag Chasers or anybody that's ever gotten a coaching call from me and we started talking about networking effectively, what is the first thing that I tell you guys to do before any of this ever plays out? And don't say it out loud. Don't type it in the chat. I know a lot of y'all probably will type it in the chat because that's information that we don't share with the general public. I give y'all clues and ways in which you go about building and managing a network effectively to where you don't start having this conversation retroactively. You have these conversations proactively. I literally give y'all the game on how it is that you can start having these conversations proactively instead of retroactively. For those of you that get a coaching call with me, you know that what you first come into it expecting is going to be much different than what it is that you get on your way out the door. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be excellent.
Just a moment of realizing there's 3 things that people will never forget you for. And it's work stuff, helping with children, or helping with health. And if you can help someone who's in a tough situation with either of those 3 areas, then you're just giving back to them in a way that is just irreplaceable. In terms of what you could do on an actionable level, instead of saying, how can I help? She just helped. And so if it were me on the receiving end, I would say all those things, but then afterwards check in with my friend. Hey, listen, these are the open roles in my team or in my company. Let's hop on a call and figure out which ones to apply to. Then I would tell my friend, okay, how about we do some interview practice next week? And then they're going to feel a lot more comfortable asking you for help because you're the one leading it. Just do that for your friends. It'll go so far, so far. There's a second video for folks who have already gotten laid off about actionable things you should do during your 2 weeks of access.
We've gotten it out here. So, what are we saying here, ladies and gentlemen? What are we communicating here to you? Because again, I know that this is a little bit different, and I like to switch it up, and so you never know what you're gonna get on the Millionaire Morning Show. But the one thing is for sure, and 2 things is for certain. I'm gonna make sure that I add value to you on everyday life, right? You have to be a little bit careful on how it is that you go about doing things, and then more importantly, building up and optimizing, or capitalizing off of your opportunities is paramount. Capitalizing off of your opportunities is paramount. You shouldn't. Politics matter. The one mistake that I made very, very, very early in my early 20s, right? And I've learned this from my father. My father actually taught me this because my father had a very, very difficult time with politics, and he had a very difficult time navigating through just doing his job and then getting the raises and promotions that he felt like he warranted versus the person that actually got the raise and promotion and what they was doing. And my father had a very difficult time with subjecting himself to the idea behind politics in church, politics on the job, politics in politics. And what I was able to master that he did not is to be able to look at everything from a business perspective, learn how to add value into people's lives, and then not make my decisions based off of how I felt or what I thought was fair versus what it was that I earned. Nobody owes you anything. You have to take that mentality into everything that you do and understand that the value that you add is going to be the determining factor for whether or not somebody rocks with you. And that's value add on a cultural level as far as whether or not they feel like they can work with you. That's value add when it comes to the work ethic that you have and whether or not you're the hardest worker in the group. And then last but not least, your ability to be able to have discipline and keep things in and not make things uncomfortable for other people, because your network truly is your net worth. And as you seen in her video, her getting laid off was not just about her getting laid off. It was about what she should have done differently in order to ensure that she had the positions that she really wanted or she needed in order to sustain her lifestyle. Listen, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Hopefully you got value out of this. I don't know what I'm going to talk to on a day-to-day basis. I wake up, I find out what it is that you guys sent me. I mine through it, and then I figure out I ask God to give me what I need in order to give you what you need in order to be successful. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I love you. I appreciate you. If you need to get in touch with me personally, again, email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, here, right? And then you also want to make sure that you're following me on Twitter because I am starting to tweet a lot more. Those links is in the description. I love you. I appreciate you. Let me read this other super chat really quickly. It says, JC, my dog JC says, over 2,000 viewers for Pookie behaviors and 1K for the blueprint to be successful on more of the bag and not the bag. More of the bag for the bag chasers. We out here grinding. Thank you for pouring into your people, bro. I'm always going to do the work. We got to mix it up. Sometimes you got to put the medicine in the candy, and sometimes you got to straight up feed them the medicine. Everybody don't want to take the medicine, but everybody want to be healthy. I don't know. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for rocking with me. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I need y'all to do me one more favor before we get up out of here, though. Make sure you share this with your family and friends. We don't want to be rich by ourselves. I love you. I appreciate you. Tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I am going to holler at y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a phenomenal Tuesday, man. It's Thanksgiving week. We getting it.